Morning, guys. Hope you're after a great morning so far. I chose a special mug today because, let's see, I didn't even put a tea bag in there. You know, the president is coming to the border today, so I thought since I live in a border state, this would be appropriate. A little come and take it mug for Texas, for the great state of Texas. Also, you know, it kind of helps you start off your day if you just sort of repeat that to yourself wherever you are. Do you guys do that where you put things out and then you completely forget where you put them? And you think when you're older, that means you're definitely going to feel like you have dementia. But the reality is that's what you're like all the time. Okay, we're going to start with really basic news about what's going on with Congress and the government shutdown now in its 19th day. And I'm going to keep this short because I'm kind of exhausted by the whole thing, aren't you guys? And I'm also going to keep it a little optimistic because I want to share something that we learned just yesterday. So the big headline is nothing has changed. The government is still shut down. The president met with congressional leaders yesterday. The meeting did not produce any effective results. One thing I want you to watch, the headlines like the New York Times and even the Associated Press talk about the president stalking out or storming out of the room. But the reality is there were no cameras in that room. No one knows how anyone behaved. All of this is based on reports by those inside the rooms, which are congressional aides that are attached to certain political parties. So Republicans say the president was firm. Democrats say the president was petulant. We don't really know what happened other than it did not produce any serious results. So that happened yesterday. In the meantime, though, Senator Graham, a Republican from South Carolina, who's often worked a little bit as a compromiser in the past. He's someone that's able to bring people together, met with moderate Republicans on Capitol Hill. He met with moderate Republicans for a reason, and that is to start a conversation to see if they could come up with a creative solution that some moderate Republicans would be open to that potentially could be a compromise with Democrats. Now, what could that solution look like? And here's where the optimism comes in just really briefly. I want to explain that this is the least likely scenario, but it's possible. And if it is possible, we could be optimistic about it and say all of this shutdown and all of this madness actually could produce a really interesting result. Last year at the same time, an idea was floated. The president in his State of the Union even addressed it, that he would be open to giving citizenships to a certain amount of illegal immigrants that were brought into the country as children. It was part of a major immigration reform package, $25 billion, which pales in comparison to what we're looking at here, which is $5 billion or thereabouts. And the idea was we'll build the wall and we'll grant some citizenship, which would be a really big deal. The deal did not come together. But, you know, hindsight's always that. And one wonders, could something be structured sort of similar that would bring in some immigration reform to this conversation? Again, least likely scenario because it hasn't happened in the past. But as the government shutdown goes into its third week, is there conditions that are created where Republicans and Democrats might look at this again? And why I'm saying that could be the best case scenario is that we haven't done any significant immigration reform. So even if it's not the ideal reform, sometimes being creative is a good thing. You know, we'd have to look closely at the policy and we'd be able to talk about whether or not it'd be good or bad. But just know that's happening. These moderate Republicans are apparently also meeting with the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, today. So that's happening. The president's going to be at the border. Here's why I think that's actually a good thing. Remember, the president hasn't left the White House, really. He's gone to Camp David. He didn't get any holiday break. He's been inside the White House. And this president is not the president that I think enjoys that. He's even talked about that. So the president's going to be out today. He's not going to be at the White House. He's not going to be meeting with anyone. He's going to be at the border. Yes, it is a photo op. Yes, it is politics. But let's just see if a little space can create something. If this shutdown goes into Friday and Saturday, and it's kind of like the timeline, is it like Friday at 6 or, you know, in the evening? I don't know exactly the time. It's going to be the longest shutdown in American history. And people that have worked for the federal government, some of you have written me, will not get their full week paycheck for the first time coming on Friday. So the shutdown is starting to kind of, you know, affect people more significantly. And you also have these reports that you see, whether it's like, oh, is food inspection happening at the right levels because of the shutdown? Do we have the right amount of airport security? You know, you're going to see more stories like this as the shutdown goes on longer. So there's your shutdown update. I hope that's helpful. So let's just take a deep breath. Nothing really has changed, and let's see if there can be some creative results. So that's something I think you should know about. Second thing I think you should know about, and this has a totally random story, but I think it's really interesting. There's a brand new study on allergies. Do you guys have any allergies? Do you think you have any allergies? Because that's what this study is about. It says that 1 out of 10 adults in America actually has an allergy, and that our allergies are not just created as children, that we do get them as adults. And many of us think that we actually have allergies when we don't. So 1 out of 10 of us actually has an allergy. 1 out of 5 of us thinks that we do. I just want to tell everyone that I am the perfect case study for this, because I developed an allergy later on in my life in my early 20s. I'm allergic, I say. I don't know if I'm really allergic to peanuts, because I got so deathly ill several times after eating peanuts, suddenly, out of nowhere. And I can't eat them anymore. But I don't know if I'm really allergic to them or if it's a food sensitivity or whatever. I just say I'm allergic because it's so much easier than having to explain that. Anyhow, I'm one of those adults. But it turns out a lot of us do develop allergies later in life. The most common are actually not to peanuts, but to tree nuts and to shellfish. And one of the reasons I was looking at this study, do you guys follow Bethenny Frankel? You know, she's the skinny girl media mogul from the Housewives of New York. She's been really talking a lot about her fish allergy that's really dangerous, and that she's been in some really serious scenarios over the last several weeks. And I was curious to find out. I don't know, is this an allergy she's had all her life? Is this something that she found out about later in life? Just know, if you have developed an allergy, it is likely, and that you could. It is possible that you can. And shellfish and soy and tree nuts are the most likely, but there's 160 different foods that you could have allergies to, or a food sensitivity, which is likely in my case. So that's a brand new study out of Northwestern University. And then finally, something really fun I think you should know about is, do you like Robert Frost? Have you ever read any of his poems? We're in such a day and age where inspirational quotes are everywhere. I don't know if I'm saying the name correct. Khalil Gibran, he wrote The Prophet, which is a book of poetry that was really popular all through the 1960s and 70s, but really since its publication in the 1920s. Publications that were put out in the 1920s and 1923, officially as of January 1st, have lost their copyright. So they're now part of the public domain. So if you start seeing quotes by Robert Frost on coffee mugs, this is why it's now legal to do, which means we can all use it. You could put it on a t-shirt, you could do whatever you want. Basically, there was an interesting copyright debate, and Disney was a part of it, trying to make sure that they're protecting Mickey Mouse. It's true. And Mickey Mouse is not free for use now, but I guess in a couple years, if there's no other legal ramifications, he would be. Mickey Mouse would. Yes, of course, Minnie Mouse. Okay. So anyways, that's why you might see some of this additional, these quotes. Charlie Chaplin videos are now, could be put on YouTube when they weren't able to be put on before. So that's also sort of an interesting nugget to know about. And speaking of a blast from the past, Woodstock. The organizers of Woodstock, for its anniversary this summer, are going to put together a huge concert. Sort of sounds like Coachella they're going to try to do, but keep it sort of Woodstocky. I don't know. That sounds like fun. More fun than a government shutdown. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Have a great day, you guys. It's almost Friday. We're going to make it. Remember, the best case scenario for this political conversation is the least likely, but that doesn't mean amazing things could not happen. There's still always a little possibility. And so reading that today, I thought this is something that we need to know about. May not happen, but let's leave room. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you later.